Service learning really enables it gets my students into the classroom. The hands-on experience, I think, is the most valuable part of what we do. Actually getting into the classroom, getting around the kids, because for some kids, when they get over there, they realize, I would never ever want to teach second grade, ever. I've had a couple of kids say, there's just no way. But then I have other kids say, wow, I really just cherish this experience, and I think that it is something that I definitely want to be with the little kids. So I think just the hands-on experience is the best part of it, but then also the foundation of teaching. You know, learning about, you know, the pros and the cons of being a teacher. I mean, I spend, you know, probably 3 or 4 days just talking about, you know, all the good things, but there are also bad things too. And I start that at the beginning of the year because I think they need to really know the truth about it. I think often sometimes we have this idealistic view of what our dream career could be, and I think that it's important for them to know both sides. What I did at the very beginning of the year was I threw the idea of service learning out to my students, and I said, okay, we're gonna have this grant, what do you guys wanna do? Because I think it's really important that they own it. If it's not their idea, and if I come up with it and I say, hey, we're gonna write a book on this and we're gonna do this, they're gonna be like, I'm into it, but I'm not really into it. So I let them come up with the idea, and they brainstormed for a day, and they decided that they wanted to talk about trees and kind of promote environmental stewardship. So that was their idea at the very beginning of the year. And so I did kind of put a component in, and I said, okay, now that we have our idea, here's what we're gonna do with it. We're gonna create a book. We're gonna write a children's book, which integrates, of course, the English into it. And it's gonna have a couple of different sections. It's gonna have a creative poetry section. It's gonna have a nonfiction section and a fiction section. So there's a little bit for everybody. And then, of course, the teaching strategies were all integrated in because they took this book and they created a teaching guide, lesson plans to go along with the book. So for each section of the book, whenever they would go and read, they would have an activity that they would do with it. I had this year a total of 19 wrote the book. Only about 15 went over on the visits, and then there were 77 second graders. Then when we move on to the step action, you know, this is their favorite part. This is getting to, you know, mentor little kids, read to little kids, get up in front of the class, get them raising their hands, get them on technology. I mean, this was the part that I think they really enjoyed the most.
If you can hear me, can you give me a thumbs up?
We took all the kids and we all went over to Anastasia State Park and we planted trees.
Okay, our tree's nice and straight, so now we can start our dirt around it.
It was kind of cool because, you know, not only were we servicing the Webster kids, but then the Webster kids in turn went out and serviced too. And so that's what I really like about our project, is it's kind of has a double dip community service. Reflection they did after every single visit. I use a program called Schoology online, and basically it's actually pretty cool. It looks just like Facebook, but it's just for school. So each kid actually on their iPod Touch that we had in here, our set, they had an app for it. So they could literally click on the app, go to the discussion, and type it into their iPod Touch. Not only did they have to reflect on Schoology on the discussion board, but they had to read everybody else's, and then they had to comment on at least 2 other people's. So it wasn't like they were just writing their own reflection and posting it. They had to actually go in, just like you would in a college class. Another thing that they did was they did a pre and a post survey using the CPS clickers, because I think so often we go over and we do these projects, and then at the end we sit wondering, did we actually teach them anything? Which is, I know, part of the problem, because, you know, you do these amazing projects, did they really learn anything? And so we went over there and we used the CPS clickers to do a pre and a post survey. It's the same survey both times, kind of a pre and a post test to see if they actually learn. And in all cases, the data shows that they actually did learn a little bit about some of these trees. And then the day after the visits, we usually would come in here and we would sit in what I like to call the unity circle, and we would literally just go around the circle. Just tell me one thing that you liked. And they go around the circle, talk about one thing they liked. Okay, just tell me one thing that you thought was a challenge. Go around in the circle. Okay, now just tell me one thing that you think that you want to do differently for next time. You know, and it was just, and that was just another outlet for us to kind of reflect and talk about what we wanted to change to make it better. Demonstration, I think, is the hardest step in service learning. But see, everybody would argue with me because they say, well, the book itself is a great demonstration of what you've learned and what you've done. and the teaching, the lesson plans. If you look at the lesson plans that are in their portfolio, because they have a digital portfolio of everything they've done in this project, that too is part of demonstration. So you have those little elements, but I think what's kind of cool about our project is that we have the culminating event that goes to Anastasia.
Bring their digging hands.
So I think sometimes in high school we don't realize that what we're doing is setting us up for something more important. And I think projects like this help kids see the relevance of what they're doing in the classroom in the real world. So service learning is, I really think, the backbone of a lot of the things that we do. I mean, without service learning, we would not be in classrooms.